Greetings Nioh 2 fans. I'm Xsanguine. Welcome to my channel and my very first video game related video on YouTube. Sorry if my bot voice annoys you. I have no choice but to do this because English is not my first language and my spoken English fucking sucks. In this video, I will show you my Onmyo Switchglaive build, which focuses purely on magic and attack damage. I call this build the God of Confusion. You will find out why later. Anyway, let's get on with the details. Let's start with the weapon. As you can see, I have a 160 plus 10 Switchglaive weapon. Since Switchglaive isn't a part of any set bonus, you can choose any Switchglaive weapon you like. As for me, I chose this lightning-based Switchglaive because I was originally aiming for a lightning-based Onmyo build. But you can choose anything you like, depending on which element you want to focus. This doesn't matter much because being an Onmyo build, you have multiple elemental talismans at your disposal. As for my armor sets, I'm using a 5-piece Spirit of Genmei set, and 4-piece Master of Spears set. You need to have a Yasukani Magatama, Toshi's Abacus, Mataza's Spear, 4 Genmei attires, and a Mataza armor to get this right. I chose the Genmei set because it does not only boost up my Onmyo power, but also automatically lowers the defense of any enemy I hit with magic with its reduced defense Onmyo magic hit effect. I chose Mataza's armor for that extra 5% melee damage. You can also choose Yatagarasu armor, or any armor set that will give you extra melee damage. The higher, the better. As for the ranged weapon, anything will do. Just make sure to temper for agility damage bonus and equipment lightness damage bonus. These will affect your melee weapon and give you the extra melee damage you need to kill those annoying yokai bosses as quickly as possible. Also remember to temper your armors with Onmyo power and untouched Onmyo. With untouched Onmyos on all of your armor, 1 on an accessory, and 15% on the Genmei set, then your equip Onmyo jutsus will surely go a long way. Now for the most important part. You need to inherit attack plus 20 and Empty Retribution damage on all of your armors. I chose Empty Retribution among any other skill because it's fast enough to execute in the small window of opportunity that the confusion status gives. Inflicting confusion is one of the most important features of my build, which I can easily do so with my 40% untouched Onmyo stat and a bunch of Shikagamis. Now, to those who don't know what confusion is, an enemy becomes confused when it is inflicted with 2 or more elemental status effects. Say your enemy is already scorched, when you electrify it, it will become confused and will be susceptible to more damage. The beauty in this is that it's not extremely OP in a sense that you just brainlessly use the same jutsus over and over again, but you need to think first about your enemy's elemental weaknesses and immunities before deciding which jutsus to equip and use. You also need to be quick as the confusion status only lasts for about 8 seconds, unless you're a member of the Oda clan. As for tempering accessories, I went for melee damage versus poisoned enemies just for the extra damage when I'm using the Blister Beetle powder for poison effect. You can also temper for any accumulation you like, depending on which element you want to focus into. As you can see, I went for shock accumulation, but anything will do. Now for the soul cores, I went for Toxic Slime for its poison accumulation, Yatsu no Kami for its melee damage against poisoned enemies, and Gyuki for its melee damage against saturated enemies. When I'm not using poison, I swap out Toxic Slime and Yatsu no Kami with Magatsu and any soul core I have with the highest attack. As for my Onmyo jutsus, I use Shikagamis to inflict confusion. Carnage Talisman to buff my attack. Extraction Talisman to activate Tengen Kujaku's high stance attack buff. Protection Talisman to keep me alive even in critical state. And an Elemental Talisman of my choice. For my ninjutsus, I only use a Tiger Running Scroll and Blister Beetle powders. Now let's move on to the Switchglaive skill points distribution. I only focus on 3 other Switchglaive skills aside from Empty Retribution. First is Switch Stance Retribution. I regularly use this to increase my attack power by a level or 2 through my mystic arts of choice, Wildfire Flux. Second, All Cornered Tigers. I use this to increase my melee damage by 30% when my health is below 30%. It's effective when used in accordance with the Raging Strike Shiftling skill which I assign to Empty Retribution. Raging Strike increases my damage by 20% in exchange for taking a handful amount of damage. This quickly puts me in a critical state, which then activates the Cornered Tiger passive skill. When added with Raging Strike, you do the math. You can activate Raging Strike from the Shiftling skill tree. When I don't need Raging Strike, I simply swap it out with damage bonus magic or damage bonus constitution. You can activate any damage bonus or boost from the samurai skill tree. Last but not the least, I put all of my remaining skill points on melee mastery to further boost up my attack. As for the clan, I'll keep it short and sweet. Honda clan is a no-brainer for its plus 28% active skill damage. You can experiment with other clans if you like. But since the main highlight of this build is using an active skill, then Honda clan is the most sufficient. As for the core stats, just pump up your constitution, skills, and magic and you're good to go. Finally, my main guardian spirit is Tengen Kujaku. There's just no other guardian spirit at the moment that can offer the same damage as Tengen's high stance attack buff. I already tested this against other guardian spirits like Yatagarasu for its melee damage against scorched enemies and Asanagami for its melee damage against saturated enemies. Tengen Kujaku is simply the better choice. As for my second guardian spirit, I chose Amno Motori for its 10% lightning damage. But this doesn't matter much. You can choose anything you like depending on your element of focus. As a final note, this build focuses on damage and speed by taking advantage of the confusion status. However, even with just the attack buffs, poison, saturation, and decreased enemy defense, this build can still inflict massive damage. Just remember that this is not a defense build. Although magic-based skills and armor perks boost up my defense, I can still die if I make a wrong move or two, especially if I am already in a critical state. So that's about it. I hope you learned something from my video. Please like this video and subscribe to support my channel. Thank you and happy yokai hunting.